Shouldn't financial advice focus on you, your goals, challenges, dreams for the future? At Modern Woodman, our goal is to help you plan for your financial security. Our representatives are people you can trust to help bring your dreams to life. Modern Woodman can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement.
Contact your local representative at Arthur today at 989-834-3300.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
This podcast contains some strong language and some stories involving violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Warfighters United, where veterans' voices are heard and transitional resources and programs provided. Today's podcast is sponsored by the Veterans of Foreign Wars, a service organization that provides our service members and veterans resources and representation throughout the nation. They also enhance community support and camaraderie we all miss in the military. So join the VFW today and make a difference. Today's podcast is with the United States Concealed Carry Association, TC Tactical. In studio, we have Ron Caldwell and his business partner, Matt Thornton, both certified instructors who teach weapons safety, personal defense, and home defense. So, welcome to Warfighters United, gents.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so, I'd like to start this off by, why don't you guys explain what TC Tactical is and what you guys are trying to accomplish?
Certainly. So, TC Tactical is basically a couple of guys who did not necessarily grow up in the military or in armed forces. However, we came together just regular guys that fell in love with the sport of shooting and wanted to train people and make sure that from a community standpoint, whether it be home defense or self-defense, people are prepared and able to do that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody's entitled to be able to defend their person, defend their families, and doing it in a safe manner. Firearms are a tool just like anything else, so people need to properly know how to use that, how to handle it.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before about treat, never, keep, our 4 weapons safety rules for the Marine Corps. But what do you guys? I know you guys said something a little bit different. Why don't you explain some of the weapon safety stuff? Treat every weapon as if it's loaded, never point a weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot, keep your finger straight off the trigger until you intend to fire, and keep your weapon on safe until you intend to fire. But are there some more stuff that goes along with that for you guys that you teach?
Yeah, definitely. Just trying to make sure that you know beyond your target, because you're going to zone in, of course, on your target, making sure that you know what's going on beyond that. Because one of the reasons now that hollow points are used, during about the 70s or 80s, the NYPD were using round nose bullets, and there was a high statistic of innocent bystanders or even friendly fire that was happening because of that. So bullets were going through the bad guys and hitting bystanders or hitting other officers. So that was kind of the incorporation of being able to use hollow points at that point. But still, depending on where you hit a person or hit anything at that matter, you just need to make sure that you understand what's behind it.
Yeah, so knowing the distance that those rounds go and what kind of weaponry you have, right?
100%.
Yeah, so, Michigan, you have about 3 million adults with firearms, right? About 840,000 of them have CCWs, or concealed carry permits. Why do you think that only 25% of people have CCWs or CCPs?
So realistically, it's a responsibility. You have to take time, you have to take money to be able to take the classes and do those things to be able to properly have your CPL. And then, of course, laws have changed since 2024, where now if you want to buy a handgun, you either need to have a license to purchase or a CPL. So that I'm seeing, there obviously the uptick is going to happen there, because instead of having to just wait to get a license to purchase every time you want to buy a handgun, you have your CPL, which is going to be good for you for 5 years. You've already done the background. You've already done the verification that way.
So what are some of the rules with a CPL? Like, I know one of the main rules is, if you're drinking or you like to smoke the ganja, the green wacky tobacco, right? You can't be driving around with a loaded gun on you, because, that's against the law. But maybe you guys can tell some of our viewers, what are some of the rules and regulations that go along with the United States Concealed Carry Association?
So, and I think that because the USCCA does adhere to the Michigan laws, and so it's more so coming from the Michigan laws than the USCCA, but still just making sure, like you said, that number one, it's not a license for you to, be a superhero. So you're not going out being a vigilante or anything of that nature. But I think a heightened sense of awareness is one thing. So being just aware of your surroundings, being aware of what's going on around you, but more importantly, making sure that you're taking the time, like you said, to be properly trained with your firearm. As far as like rules and regulations, it's mostly just standard Michigan law. So making sure that you're not using any controlled substances, making sure that you're adhering to any posted signs or signs where, you're not supposed to carry, like schools, federal buildings, things of that nature. And then two, making sure that third thing, making sure that you are adhering to all of your government laws as it relates to carrying.
But, that could be confusing, because every state has different state laws, right?
Absolutely.
If you're in Oklahoma, that's like an open carry state. Right. There's Texas, also another great one. Hopefully, someday Michigan will get on board with that, at least in my mind, just because there's a lot of good that can come out of it. But, do you guys ever foresee that coming to Michigan in the future?
Open concealed carry?
Yeah.
Not at this point. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Anything at this point.
So if I'm not mistaken, I thought that Michigan was open carry. Like
open concealed carry is what he's talking about. Concealed, like you don't have to have a CPO.
Oh, you mean like
carry.
Constitutional carry?
Yeah,
Got it. Yeah. Like Indiana. Sorry, I misunderstood. My apologies.
Yeah, no, you're good. Maybe you can explain the difference between the two, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't know the difference between the two.
Certainly. So open carry basically says that you still have to have a license, but you are able to carry openly with, some type of holster or whatever the case may be, where it's not concealed or under your clothing. Whereas constitutional carry is basically the Constitution says that we can carry. Yeah. So you don't need to go out and get a license. You don't have to do anything. As long as you're of age to purchase a firearm, you can carry a firearm.
Right. You always see in the movies how the guys put it in the back of their jeans or whatever. Right. That's totally illegal if I'm correct. It's got to be in a holster, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And for your safety. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, totally. Like there's plenty of situations where bad guys see you just a gun hanging out of your back pocket or hanging out of your pants, and they're just gonna snatch it out. They're gonna snatch it off you. He shared a video with me last year.
Yeah.
This guy just walked into a gas station, had a gun hanging off his pocket. 3 guys walked in. 1 guy came up, snatched it out of his back pocket. 2 other guys flanked him. He tried to follow these guys out to get his gun back, and they shot him with his own gun.
Yeah, no, or the fact that if you have a type of gun where you go to pull it out of there, you might accidentally shoot yourself in the foot, right, or the leg. I know that's happened before. Oh, yeah. So, what originally motivated you guys to become instructors and start these courses?
So, both firearm enthusiasts, both family men. I think both of us kind of started really thinking about it during COVID. It was a big change. Wanted to make sure that we were prepared in all aspects. Started learning how to grow food. I'm teaching my kids at home. So I was like, okay, beyond just doing the academics, we're going to start doing some life skill training. So understanding how to grow food, understanding how firearms work. Just life skills that need to happen.
Right? Anything?
Yeah, for me, it was, same thing. Just, with the change in our society during COVID, just looking at things from a broader perspective as far as just if things were to hit the fan, so to speak, what are we prepared to do? What, are we prepared to protect our family, protect our livelihood, and all of the things that we've worked so hard to build? And so that got me to thinking about that, and then, taking it a step further as we began to get more versed in training and being around firearms. What better way to help our community than to help train people to do the same thing?
Right, because guns don't kill people; people kill people.
Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely. Exactly.
And I know there's a lot of people that think that we shouldn't have guns, or if you do, it has to be this way, which I believe is totally wrong. Yeah. Because it's not the gun that's hurting the people. It's the people who have issues that shouldn't have a gun.
Right.
And there's a lot of legislation out there that kind of talks to that. I know for a long time they've been trying to take guns away from veterans because of post-traumatic stress. I really think they need to dig in to find if that person has something like, if they've been assault or this or that. But that's what all the gun safety checks are for, right? Again, not only through the state, but they check it nationally too with, all the other states, right?
And I mean, if you're already a veteran, you're already tied in with the VA and you're doing these regular checks anyway. So if there's a history of violence, yeah, let's talk about it. Outside of the military, of course.
Right.
Let's talk about it, figure that out. But not just because you're a veteran and just because you went through something overseas defending our country.
Yeah, I mean, every veteran that I know has a gun in one way, shape, or form. They indoctrinate that into our brains. I mean, that's what keeps us alive overseas, and that's how we protect ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. And so you guys started this, and when did you guys start TC Tactical?
So officially started TC Tactical, what was it, September?
September of this year, yeah.
September with paperwork. That was when we did the business paperwork. Ron ended up getting licensed end of May, beginning of June. I ended up finishing my license July.
And what did that look like, getting a license to be a tactical instructor and being a part of the USCCA? Like what does that entail?
So there's a 2-day course for the instructor portion. The training that goes into it is outside of that course. Essentially, Matt and I have been going to the range for a while and just working on, accuracy, marksmanship, working on, handling a firearm and things of that nature. So what the 2-day course did was basically just make sure that we can present the information in a fairly good way, just make sure that we can present it and we're not stammering over our words. We don't know how to instruct or show people or things of that nature, how to, manipulate the firearm or things of that nature.
We did a little bit of shooting too, So.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Make sure
there is a qualification.
You got to qualify to shoot too. So with the CPL, so.
Of course. And so what is that qualification of shooting? Like, so shooting with a handgun where you got to hit so many on the target, like how does that work?
So you're shooting from different distances. So you start at 4 yards, and it ends up stopping at about, 15 yards,
15,
right? 15
yep.
yards. So you shoot at 4, 7, 10, and 15. And then you get 50 shots. You got to hit at least 30.
Man, that sounds pretty goddamn easy.
This guy earlier talking about hitting stuff from 500 yards. Yeah.
Well, with our M16A2 service rifles when we were in the Marine Corps, we had to do, 10 shots in the prone. With open sights. We didn't have scopes.
Yeah.
At 500 yards, I think I hit 9 out of 10 in the head.
There you go.
Nice. But, that's an M16A2. M4s, what they kind of adapted into, maybe not as, maybe not as accurate at 500 yards, but you still hit 9 out of 10 if you know what you're doing and you can guide wind. But, so what does responsible firearm ownership mean to you guys?
It means making sure that you're keeping you and your family happy, healthy, and safe with your firearm, making sure that it's locked up if you're not using it. There's no access to your kid. Your kids don't have access to it. Living by the 4 universal laws. It doesn't mean that you have to have a CPL, but if you're going to be a firearm owner, you need to be responsible. Just like anything, it's a tool, and you need to understand how that tool works.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Anything to add to that?
Man, same thing. Like, making sure that, especially for my kids, number one, I don't want them to be afraid. And I think, kind of going back to your question earlier about, why so many people don't have a CPL, I think that it's just that comfort level around firearms. And so, to add to what Matt was saying, sitting down with the kids, actually going through firearm safety, actually going through the steps, even with their Nerf guns, hey, make sure your finger's off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Those types of things, and kind of reiterating those rules so that they translate to an actual firearm.
Right. I mean, a lot of kids out there have the Nerf guns or, fake play guns that they, play. They used to be huge when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
30 years ago.
Used to have that Nerf bazooka back in the day.
Yeah. And so how about you guys both have wives, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So how was that getting your wives to, go through the course? Or did they go through the course or? Because like I know my wife would be like, no, I'll just let you take it, right? And I'd be like, honey, you got to learn how to shoot. Yeah. She's like, no, that's it. That's your ballpark. Yeah. So was your wife open to, learning about this stuff too, or did she just leave that up to you like mine did?
So for me, my wife and I did it together. So we did our CPL course together. And we both got our CPLs at the same time. She had 2 pistols for the longest. I only had 1.
Oh, there you go. So don't make her mad.
Exactly. And then, as far as instructor portion, she didn't do that. She didn't go that far. But I went a step further with that. But she's comfortable. She loves going to the range whenever she gets a chance to.
Yeah. No, it's definitely been a journey. Still working on my wife getting her CPL, but we've shot together, talked about it, and she's not afraid, and she's not like she understands that she wants to learn and be able to be ready in case I'm not there or I'm incapacitated. Knock on wood, of course.
Right. And so, what distinguishes your guys' teaching methods? Do you learn more towards practical hands-on skills, legal, ethical education, mental preparation? Or a mix of all three? I mean, what?
All the above.
All of the above. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. And so, for especially students who are new with firearms, how do you address the safety and risk awareness in your classes?
So the great thing about the USCCA is that they provide a curriculum for you. And so we didn't have to come up with the curriculum on our own. We were able to kind of follow theirs and then add our own flavor to it. And so with that, we're able to kind of talk to beginners around situational awareness, the different color codes that go along with situational awareness, never being in condition white. Where condition white would just simply be you're just unaware. You're just kind of on your phone. You're not paying attention to your peripheral. You're not paying attention to anything that's going on. And I mean, doesn't that kind of sound like today's society nowadays?
Especially kids. I get my kids, my 10 and 14-year-olds off their phones. Yeah. I mean, it's a hassle, and creating awareness. They probably don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
You always hear about the kids looking at the phones, walking across the street, not even looking for cars.
Yeah.
Right? I can only imagine, what it's going to be like in 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. But so you said color codes. Tell me about color codes. I know you said white. What are the other colors?
So color coding, so white, like you were saying, completely oblivious to what's going on around you. Yellow is where you're paying attention. Ears are peaked up. You're not weary or you feel like you're in danger, but you're just paying attention to what's going on. Orange is your spidey senses are starting, something's going on, starting to get a vibe. And then red is it's going down. Something is happening and you need to figure out flight or fight.
Yeah. You guys ever heard of the 6 and 7 Ps?
Stand with those who served. Join your local Michigan VFW, where veterans find support, purpose, and community. Learn more at vfwmi.org. That's vfwmi.org.
No.
Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
There you go.
I have heard that phrase.
Piss poor planning equals piss poor performance,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, indeed.
Now, so do you guys adjust your training approach depending on your students, or is it kind of all the same curriculum? Like say you have one person who seems like they know a lot more than others, how do you diffuse between the two in your classes?
So realistically, it's great because we're a team. So we're able to kind of divide and conquer in those situations where it's like, okay, this person needs a little bit more focus. Let's work with you work with them over here. I can take the people here or whatever that looks like. And depending on where the class is in the report, because we also kind of flip on different parts of what we're teaching in the class sometimes. So.
Right. Well, I mean, I could see some people out there that might be listening say, oh man, I've never done this before, and these people are going to be so much better than me. I don't think I should do it. It's not the case though, right?
No. And I would say to that person, by all means, give us a chance. Let us work with you to get you to the place that you're wanting to be. We've had everything from people who were previous CPL holders coming to recertify all the way down to people who had no prior experience with handguns and everything in between. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like we would have the best vantage point, especially because, again, not being immersed in firearms from a kid and coming into this, later on in life, I can identify with that person that's never had that opportunity. But I can assure you that once you have the opportunity to shoot in a controlled environment, in a safe environment, and in an environment that is conducive to you learning, we can definitely change your mind.
Yeah, it's not a one-time thing. This is a journey. So realistically, you're coming to our class, you're with us for 8 hours talking about safety, getting a little bit of time shooting, but you also have to build the repetition to be able to make sure that you're comfortable and continue to practice. So you're building muscle memory in defending yourself, and not just because if you're not practicing, like you said, the 6-7 Ps.
Yeah.
If you're not preparing, you're going to be ass out when something actually does hit the fan.
Right. So let's see here. So have any of your students ever came to you with concerns or misconceptions about the concealed carry or home defense that surprised you before you set them straight?
I've had people come to me and say, well, yeah, you just unload the mag until it's done. I'm like, that's not how any of this works. They weren't
Shoot to kill.
Yeah, no, we're not shooting to kill. We're shooting to stop a threat. So once the threat is done, you're done.
Well, I mean, you do always hear, though, so you always hear about the burglar that comes in to, steal from your house. The guy shoots him, doesn't kill him, and then the guy comes back and sues him, right? Yeah. And so I've heard a lot of my friends who have CC, has the concealed carry. Mm-hmm. They're like, if you're going to shoot him, kill him, because you don't want him to come back and get you. I don't know where that comes from, but I've heard that quite a bit. Maybe you guys can talk about that.
Again, like I was saying before, it's about stopping the threat. It's not about trying to kill anybody. It's just making sure that the threat is stopped. And realistically, if they're in your house and they're stealing things, not trying to physically harm you, things can be replaced through insurance. People's lives can't be. Mm-hmm. So if your family's in danger, definitely. So a lot of times we try to teach to the fact, like, if somebody does enter your home, you gather everybody in your house that you want to, and then you have them in one place. Shut the door, lock it, and you let the person know. It's like, if you enter this room and you come in this part of the house, I will shoot you. And it's not being extra inflammatory, like cussing at him, like, I'm going to blow your head off, I'm going to do this, that, and the third. It's like, just clear and concise, I will shoot you if you come in this room. Yeah.
I don't know. For a guy like me, I wouldn't be doing that. But, that's me.
But again, I mean, like...
You know what I mean? I'm used to doing house raids, being... in Iraq doing, kicking in doors and stuff and doing room clearing. I've had training and all that.
Right. Yeah.
And so if that would ever happen to my house, I would probably be one to go after them, but that's just me. Mm-hmm. But I know there's a lot of people out there that haven't went through some of the training that I have,
right. And
I wouldn't expect them to probably do something like that.
Right.
So,
and then going back to what you're talking about, if you don't kill them, they can sue you. Right. But if you're still going to have to, and ultimately, if you pull a firearm, you're going to have to go through some legal ramifications.
Oh, yeah. And so when I was looking up the USCCA, they actually have insurance you can buy, right? Yes. I think it's like $39 a month, right? And so that helps you, like, say if something does happen and you have to go through these legal stuff. Maybe you guys can tell us what that is and why that's out there, because I heard that, like, you can get a automatic lawyer on retainer from the USCCA, and there's a lot of things that go with that. Maybe you guys can explain some of that.
Yeah, so it's liability insurance, and it covers you in a self-defense incident. So basically, you pay that monthly fee, and then you have access to their network of lawyers nationwide. So you can either go in, they have an app, you can go in, you can choose a lawyer in your area, or, if you have, someone that you work with that is in their network, you can list them as well. But essentially, if you get into that situation, first call you make is 911. Second call you make is to the USCCA so that you can report it and so that they can get a lawyer out there to you right away to help you in that situation. Because kind of going back to, the question before, just speaking in terms of, stopping that threat versus shooting to kill, when the police arrive, they're not necessarily there to say whether or not you're innocent. They're there to build a case for the prosecutor. And that's the reality of, we talk about the training, we talk about the shooting part, but there is a reality after a self-defense incident that people also need to be prepared for, and which we do talk about in the class. And that is that fact. That police officer is there to build that case for the prosecutor. And so when you're there, you need to be limiting what you're saying to them. You need to be, give them only the information that is necessary at that point in time until your lawyer arrives and you can be advised by some type of counsel.
Right. We just saw that down by Brighton area where they had the mass shooting in the church or whatnot. And the guy pulled up in his truck. They were taking the people who were wounded. He gave them their truck, and then him and another guy went after the shooter and got him in the back parking lot. And I'm obviously, the guy was had a concealed carry on him, and he was able to help take down that threat. Yeah. I think things like that are very important when you start talking about some of the mass casualties that are happening across the United States. Because without the people that are carrying, who knows how long that could have went, and who knows how many more people could have been injured.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Same situation. Actually, while I was taking my course, the situation in Traverse City happened where they were in a Walmart. Guy was walking around stabbing people, and it was somebody with a concealed carry, ex-Marine, I believe, or Marine.
Never an ex.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I forgot. Sorry. That he had his concealed carry and was able to stop the threat without firing a shot.
So what are some common misunderstanding or mistakes that you see around new people who carry firearms?
Trigger control. That's a big one. We always like to teach make a gun to take a gun. Obviously not on camera, but I'm doing an L shape right now, pointing, so you don't want to have your finger inside the trigger guard until you're absolutely ready to shoot. That situation, because when we're stressed out, cold, things are happening, you tense up. So if you're making a fist, your hand is going to slide inside the trigger guard and you may have a misfire or a premature shot. And you want to make sure to avoid that. So again, making a gun to take a gun so your finger can stay outside the trigger guard until you're ready to actually shoot.
Yeah. And then too, just treating a firearm like it's loaded. I think that's one that a lot of people miss. And so, they're assuming that they've already cleared it or whatever the case is, or just because they've taken the magazine out, but they don't rack the slide just to check and make sure there's not a round in there, and then they have a negligent discharge that way. The 4 universal rules are set up in such a way that as long as you're adhering to at least 2 of them, you shouldn't have any problem.
Maybe you should say those 4 rules. I know I had my 4 that were there, but they're different from your guys's. There's a lot of different interpretations of the 4 weapon safety rules, but maybe you tell them again with yours. We can never be too safe. And for people who don't know, maybe yours will come across differently than mine did.
Certainly. Well, no, it's universal, so it's all basically the same. But, treat every firearm like it's loaded. Keep your finger off the trigger until you've acquired your target and you're ready to shoot.
Making sure that you know beyond what your target is, but what's beyond the target. And did you say don't point anything you're not willing to destroy?
I didn't, yeah.
And don't point your firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy.
I was trying to go there. And yeah.
We can get that.
And then keeping your weapon on safety until you intend to fire.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
A lot of concealed carries, though, they don't have safety. So realistically, the 4 universal law, you are the safety.
So in your opinion, what role does training play in reducing misuses or accidents? Is education more important than legislation or vice versa?
I would say education over legislation, only because a lot of what we're seeing as far as legislation now is a lot of overreach. The phrase "shall not be infringed" was placed in there for a reason, and I'm glad that it was, because the right of the people matters more than, it's unfortunate that, some events have happened, right? At the same time, it's a tool. If I placed a firearm on this countertop here, it's not going to do anything. The only way that something happens is if someone picks it up. And so to that end, it's not the firearms that need the legislation and or the control, but we need to address some of the socioeconomic issues that are happening in our cities. We need to address some of the mental health issues that are happening in our cities. And I don't think that the legislation is going to fix that. I think that education and different programs to help veterans, to help civilians that need that help will.
Gun violence is symptoms of a problem, of an overlying problem. Like, taking guns away isn't going to solve it. Making more laws in place, to scare people out of owning firearms isn't going to fix it, because ultimately, if you want to cause harm, you're going to do it, whether it be with a firearm, a knife, a bomb, whatever. You're going to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, the black market is huge, especially we've had open borders for 4 years until this last year. And who knows how much weapons have came in through our borders that are illegal, that are trafficked, and you get them coming in from Canada, you get them coming in from Mexico, you get them coming in from wherever they can bring them in. Mm-hmm. And if you got somebody who wants something bad enough, they're going to find it.
Yeah.
And there is no constraints on getting a gun in the black market, or, especially like in a city like Lansing or Detroit. I can't imagine it would be that hard to find somebody to sell you a gun illegally.
Absolutely.
The will, there's a way. You're going to make it, like you said, you're going to make it happen if you really want to.
Yeah.
So I watched a video just the other day. There was a report from the UK. Mind you, they banned all firearms.
Yep.
You can't have them. You can't own them. Yet a kid was shot and killed in the street, shot and stabbed in the street in the UK. Criminals are going to be able to get the tools that they want no matter what. Why pass more legislation that's only serving to disarm law-abiding citizens? That just doesn't make sense.
So what advice would you guys give somebody that was on the fence, interested in carrying but hesitant about whether to take a concealed carry or home defense course? Like, what kind of advice would you guys give those guys?
Realistically, it's a journey, and we're here to try to help people with setting up their own home or self-defense plan. It may not have a firearm involved. There's different ways that you can protect yourself. You can use a taser, you can use pepper spray, you can use these different things to be able to protect yourself. But just doing your own research and making sure that you're looking at the right research, because there's plenty of situations, even with legislation, where it's not right. Like the AR argument, we constantly talk about that. I'm gonna let you cover that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, because you got a lot of people that will, call it an assault rifle. You and I know it's an Amorite rifle, but people use those types of tactics specifically to scare people. So if you're watching the news, you're going to hear some of these buzzwords and you're going to be freaked out like, oh my God, I don't know. And I would say if you want to make a firearm a part of your self or home defense plan, get with someone that can ease you into it.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true, right?
That's right.
I think that's a huge one, because there's so many people putting out bad information on the internet, right? And then somebody who doesn't know so much about it reads that and they automatically think it's the truth.
Yeah.
And so knowing where your information is coming from is also probably a great part in how you distinguish what you're reading about and how true it is.
Absolutely.
Right.
One piece of information is, with the stats that you hear about gun violence, it's actually like a lump of, so suicides are lumped into that, robberies, anything that happens with a gun is all part of that same stat. So it's not being differentiated between the uses. So just keeping that in mind as well.
Yeah, because if you're looking at the news, they would tell you that inner city gun violence is the number one contributor to gun deaths. It's not. It's suicide.
Mm.
And so if we're including that in our figures and in our numbers, well, yeah, absolutely. It would seem as though, gun deaths are on the rise, when in actuality, again, going back, it's a psychological thing. We need to be helping people that are going through these issues mentally, that's driving them towards things like suicide or things of that nature. Because in that mindset, my aunt passed away from suicide. Literally, you feel like you have no other option.
Oh, I've I've had a lot of friends commit suicide over the last 20 years since I've been out.
Yeah.
Many of them with guns, just sometimes you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right?
Exactly.
And so when they have that need or that want to do something because they don't know any better and they just do it, you can't take it back.
Definitely.
But it's not the gun's problem.
Right. Exactly. And so at the very least, having programs where we can have those conversations and talk to those people before they get to that point. If they reach that point, we mourn and we our heart goes out to their families. But if we can do something beforehand to at least try, I think it's worth it.
All right. Where do you guys see TC Tactical in 2026? Like what is your hopes of, you guys started this, concealed carry course, for home defense and self-defense and everything else. Like, where do you guys see yourselves going over the next year?
So over the next year, we want to offer more than just CPL courses. So if you're putting holes in things, you need to know how to plug them. So being able to help out with first aid training, stop the bleed training, and then also mass shooter preparedness.
Right. Start the breathing, stop the bleeding, protect the wounds, and treat for shock, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Sorry, I went to EMT schools too.
It's all good. And it's universal. That hasn't changed.
Yeah. No, I mean, being a Marine, we have to go through, those same courses to be a team leader. You have to know how to, when you're out of combat, when you're in combat and you're in a field and, you're doing that kind of stuff, your buddy gets hit. You need to know how to plug a sucking chest wound or, you name it. So they put us through that training and it's training that never leaves you.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're right. If you're putting holes in it, you need to know how to fix it too, right?
Exactly.
Because you never know when an accident will happen or, God forbid, something will happen. You're in a gas station, somebody comes in to rob it, and they shoot somebody, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so if anybody wants to hear more about TC Tactical, do you guys have a website, a Facebook? How would they get into your courses?
Absolutely. So we do. So as far as the website, we do have links to that. It's not our own. It's through the USCCA, so you can find us on their website. But we are online on Facebook, TC Tactical, as well as on Instagram. I believe it's at TC Tactical LLC.
Yep, and we're also on LinkedIn.
And on LinkedIn.
Right. And so how many courses do you guys plan on doing this year?
So currently we have planned for, I believe it was 14 weeks. About
I think it's like 12.
12, because we taking a break during the holidays when it's cold out. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we set it up for 12. A couple months we ended up scheduling 2.
Okay. And so you guys are right here in Lansing. Where do you guys go and shoot at?
So right now we're shooting out in Weberville. So we do the class there, then head right outside when it's time to shoot and shoot right at the same location.
Okay. All right. And so you guys have an email associated with this, or how do they contact you? Besides, they go into Facebook, they could probably message you, but how are you guys getting the information out there that, hey, we got these 12 classes going on?
So right now, a lot of it has been through social media and word of mouth. We are working on getting a website stood up that we can have and direct people to. But for now, social media is the easiest way to get in touch with us.
Okay. All right. So you guys have any saved rounds or something that I've missed over the conversation that you guys would like to get in there?
Not specifically. I know Ron touched on the socioeconomical issues in cities and things like that. But, again, focusing on mental health and focusing on financial literacy, I think are really great ways to be able to help figure out solve or reduce gun violence in America.
Well, so Williamston this year, I live in Williamston.
Okay.
Their school just started a trap contest deal where, kids that are in 6th grade to 12th grade can join this trap team and learn how to shoot weapons and, do the, what's the deal you throw up in the air and shoot? Skeet shooting and all that. And
That's
they compete
awesome.
in targetry, I wouldn't mind seeing more of that kind of stuff because the younger we can teach our younger generations, the more we can teach them sooner, the better they'll be in the future, right?
Absolutely. I would love to see something like that come to Lansing.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised that there's not more schools doing it. In fact, I know Ionia does it, Williamston does it. But I don't know about Lansing area. I don't think that they do.
I haven't heard of anything.
No,
so
I
that,
haven't.
yeah, I'd love to see something like that come around.
Yeah. I mean, the sooner we can teach our younger generation about weapons safety, the better. All right. So, if you guys, if anybody wants to contact TC Tactical, you can go through Instagram, Facebook, and you guys are in the middle of making a website.
Yep.
Yes,
Maybe you guys shoot out the phone number to call if they want to plan, to take your CCW class.
Sure. If you want to, you can reach out to me personally. My cell phone number is 224-578-2212.
And then mine is 269 area code 744-1954, or reach out to me at schemeteammatt@gmail.com.
How do you spell Scheme Team?
So SCHEMETEAMMATT.
All right.
And then an email for me, ron.caldwell3@gmail.com.
Well, there you go, folks. Warfighters United coming with the weapons safety tactics, and if you guys are, if there's anybody out there listening that wants to take a CPL course or want to learn about home defense or self-defense, look up TC Tactical, and these guys will make your dreams come true. They'll teach you all the weapons safety and be able to do that. If you want to learn more about Warfighters United, you can look up warfightersunited.com or find us on Facebook, Warfighters United Podcast at gmail.com. That's the email. But we're on iHeart, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify. So look us up, give TC Tactical a like on Facebook, and let's teach our kids about weapons safety.
Let's do it. Thank you for having us.
Hoorah.
To speak with Eric Callie and Warfighters United, you can email him at eric@warfightersunited.com or call 517-699-0111.